It's only the Bleeding Knowles Bard Witchcraft podcast with me, Liam, and Mr. Chris. Mr.
Yo,
Chris.
yo, yo.
Hello, Mr. Chris. Right, so someone wants to talk about foreplay today.
Yes.
Okay.
Normally you.
No, not that type of foreplay, Chris. Not the sex type. We're talking about not microcosm foreplay, but macrocosm foreplay. So primordial stuff. You know what happens before the
primordial juices.
Yes, primordial juices. Obviously, there's this idea of there's going to be a rumble in the sheets and a very big bang, right? But before we get to that, okay, that's obviously the microcosm. In the microcosm, there's a rumble in the sheets, a big bang, and then stuff happens, you know? Gets everywhere, right? What we're talking about is the stage before that. So if the Big Bang is the universe, what about the foreplay? What about before the universe? Because some would say that that's primordial. I'm thinking that's primordial, if I'm honest with you. Some would say primordial is the Big Bang, so the first of a bunch.
The first of everything.
Underpinning energies, I suppose, the actual structure of the universe. Some would say that's primordial. I'm happy with both, but I would say that my first thought is before the universe, before the Big Bang, therefore foreplay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
So what we're going to talk about on the first day there was?
No, because that's the during intercourse, Chris. That's the during part. That's the creation process of the universe. We want to talk about before that. You know, the flicking of the nipples and that bit.
Oh, how graphic.
Well, you know. Some people like their nipples played with before they create universes.
Wow. Wowza.
I know this is well outside of the scope of most of the things we're really supposed to talk about on a normal podcast, but you know, someone's asked for this, didn't they?
They did, but I'm wondering if they... I'm still curious as to whether or not they see primordial as the kind of intercoursey stuff, who's there and available at that time. So, you know, Titan times. Whereas actually, I think from our point of view, we would normally talk about pre-universe, wouldn't we?
Or pre-Titans.
Pre-Titans, which is a subject we never touch.
No, we're not talking Teen Titans either.
No.
So, okay, so should we start with on the level of understanding the books tell you about, which would be Titan level? That's the intercourse part, isn't it? That's as the universe is being created, you know?
Yeah.
That is the intercourse, okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll talk about pre-intercourse, pre-universe at a later stage. But at the moment, we're just talking about boom, right? And then the climax with the universe being created.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then normally an overthrow, in it, you push them off you. Hence what happens to Zeus. You're kind of like, ugh, get off. You're old hat now. I've had me way with you. I've been birthed. Well, that's really a lot further down the line. That's when, you know, kids grow up. And they're like, okay, I'm old enough now. I know everything. Teenage years, you know, Zeus teenage years. I know everything. Piss off. You don't know nothing. I'm taking control of my life and the rest of the world.
Yeah, and then wasn't that story ripped off in the Bible? I think it was.
There may have been some lawsuits of a sort when it comes to the Bible, maybe, but you only need to be, I believe, 10%. What Will said in the other podcast, 10% different, or has it got to be 10% difference? So, you know, they can just change a couple of characters around and it's fine. But when one wants to work with the great Titans, primordial as in beginnings of, not pre-primordial, primordial, the lower primordials. Let's call them the lower primordials. I'm sure they'd appreciate that. The lower primordials are the biggest honchos in the universe, or I should say in creation, because they're there from the beginning and during. They are necessary for the
Yes.
creation of things. They are the
Yeah.
Big Bang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
They are the things
these,
that are required for this little universe to maintain itself. So when we talk about killing off things, we talk about lesser and greater, don't we?
yes, that's it. Lesser and greater deities and beings, because you have lower gods, and then you have greater gods, and then you have Titan level, is where we're going to display this now. And
Yeah.
Titan level, they're essential. They're really essential. They were there at the very beginning, most powerful. Yes. And then we have, that's the intercourse part. Then we have the cum shot, right? We have the impregnation part, which is the big bang. And it is a bang as well. If you're doing it right, there should be a bang. Okay. And that is when the greater gods come along. That's where a lot of structure comes from. So Zeus and his little pack of his family, greater gods. Demigods and kind of below that, lower gods. Above that, titans. Because I think if we're going with the Roman Greek, Greco-Roman, it would be titans are the first wave, and then you've got the great gods. So you've got the Zeus and Poseidon and Hades and that, and then underneath them you've got their kids. Basically, it's all like family tree. It gets very incestuous in parts, I think, but as do most families, I think, if you go really far back. So you've got a paranitwit. They've graduated from worshipping Hecate and all of these beings that they can find in a book of mythology, and they're thinking, well, actually, I'm not feeling fulfilled. I've tried lighting my candle and making my altar to a couple of these lower level gods. I've tried the big famous ones, Zeus and Hera and all of that, and they ain't answering. So the only step that I can take is to go above them, go a bit further up, because surely at that level someone's bound to answer. I mean, at that level, when you're talking Titan level, they should at least be able to do more than make a candle flicker, because that's all I got when I contacted Zeus. I got a flickering candle, one of those cheap ones from Bargains and More that don't burn properly and that seep everywhere.
Okay. Yes.
So how does a nitwit, a grimoire addicted pleb, go about summoning a great titan? And do you recommend one? What would be the easiest to conjure?
Oh, easiest to conjure would be the one that you don't like to talk about, because she's always around.
I don't know which one you're talking about. Which one don't I like to talk about?
The one that you would prefer to call Terror.
Oh, that one. Oh, honey, are you calling that a titan? I suppose it is, but I mean, it's kind of like the lowliest excuse for a titan, isn't it? I mean, that's like the people that get honorary degrees in it without ever doing any work. I mean, the university, they just feel like, I fucking need some funding. I know that person's a billionaire. They do a little bit. They've built a whole wing. We'll give you an honorary degree, yeah? That's what that seems like to me. But then I'm very biased, so...
You are very biased. Bearing in mind, it is the rock in which we are currently on, Liam.
Yeah,
it kind of does
it's
have a
floating.
pretty important moment.
It's floating around in a big universe. I mean, yeah. I don't like to think of her as a titan. I'm sorry.
I know you don't. That's why I thought I'd bring her up.
But yeah, she is quite easy, isn't she?
She's very easy. And that's the question you asked me. Would you prefer me to say, oh, yeah, just go and speak to Kronos? That would be a great idea. You think some of these lot are ready for that?
That is exactly what I was hoping for.
I don't think they're ready for that, Leo. This is the problem.
Oh, I think one or two already have conversations with such high level beings now. Our archivist, I think, didn't she speak to Kronos once?
Yes, she was a bit freaked out by it, I think. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that one being the one you direct them all to, Liam.
Okay. Now, some of these titans seem to be related to kind of, or thought about as a very old, like the old guy that's always moaning about during the war, and you kids don't know what you've got and all of that. And back in my day, it was a lot, the angry old man. Yeah, I'm not relating this in any way, shape, or form to Kronos, by the way.
I was going to say,
but you've got this kind of angry old fart, right? A lot of the titans, I think, seem to get that kind of a reputation. And I wonder why that is. Why is that? They all seem like they're unamused and bored and aren't interested. Alan Sugar types, yeah? Very simple, straight to the point, got a lot of power, but they never seem to give you the time of day. They're not interested in these people, these magicians.
Because they don't matter. This is the problem.
Don't matter. You're right, they don't. But these people, these magicians and witches and stuff, they want to be granted an audience. They want to be taken seriously, like the baby that throws his rattle out of the pram and says, I don't even want ice cream anyway. I don't like ice cream, because you've told them they can't have any ice cream until they've eaten their main course. And they don't like it because it's got broccoli and cauliflower on it. Right? So these people, these great magicians of the future, why is it that they would want to deal with titans to start with? What does one get from that? Because if they're a bunch of old fuddy-duddies and miserable, why would you want to deal with them?
Well, what it comes down to for most people is they think there's more power there, don't they? That's the thing. So the problem that I often have is that people want to go to the source, don't they? And they think that's them getting to the source. Because if I go for a pure energy, obviously it's got more punch. And you're kind of like, well, the purer it is, the harder it is to control. Which is probably going to be a strange thing for people to hear. But I'm hoping you'll understand what I mean by that.
Yeah, but they need to understand, Chris. This is a podcast. We're relaying information in audio format to a bunch of people, but some of which we know, many of which we don't know. So if you need to put a little bit more effort in, then put a little bit more effort in, or we can move on.
No, I do need to put more effort in. I'm just not sure quite how to phrase it. The purer something is, the less characteristic it has. Does that make sense? The less character it has.
Virgins are very boring, I'll give you that.
How did I know you'd say that?
Because you're a psychic.
What we're talking about is the purer, the less telltale signs you've got of it being the thing you're looking for. So, because obviously with, if we were to take the planets, for example, everyone's got their own set of correspondence that they would apply to each of those. But let's face it, they never really experience it in their purest sense. What they're realizing is through a particular lens that they have, they are seeing it. So if you then strip that back and say, well, actually, in its purest form, it is A, that has less tangibility to it because it doesn't have character. You can't apply correspondences to it because you're talking about something in its purest essence. And at that point, how do you direct something that you don't understand its nuance?
Use a sigil. Is that the right answer? I get my book of sigils and seals and such, and I get the right astrological planetary day, and I get the right time based on the app, and then I light the right coloured candle, and then I burn an appropriate incensed cone or stick that comes from China, right? And then I ask for what I want to happen, and then I wait a week or two, and then phone up the Thoth Witchcraft emergency line and say, I did this spell and I don't know if this worked. Can you tell me if it's worked or not? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what we're supposed to do? Because that's what I feel that the opera's doing.
I am talking about the ones that kind of go, I want to look at Pluto.
Oh, don't start on Pluto. For fuck's sake.
And you're kind of like, why do you want to start at Pluto? I don't know. I want to
start. I'm not supposed to. So now I want to do it.
Yeah,
you don't seem to be fully present, Chris. What are you doing? Come on.
Sorry, I'm here.
We're talking about big level shit today, and we need your full undivided attention. At least one of you, your full undivided attention. I presume in the one that's currently here presently. That would be the ideal one. But if you want to pull in any titans that you may or might not have been or have worked with previously or in the future or are currently working with, then please feel free. But I cannot guarantee the integrity of this live stream recording.
No, I don't think that's a good idea, Liam, at all. Okay, sorry. Get back on point. So yeah, people struggle with the idea, and therefore, because that was the question, wasn't it, Liam? You wanted to know why people would even want to mess with these energies. So personally, I don't see why you would want to mess with them unless your plan is to create something anew. And by that, I mean brand new universes. Otherwise, what's the point of you messing with such a core energy, which is basically like me saying, oh, you know, here's some modeling clay. No, I don't want to play with the modeling clay. I want some uranium. Is that a good enough, simplistic enough way of describing what they're talking about?
That's really good. I like that.
Do you like that one?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
There you go. I'm going to say you should probably stick with the modeling clay until you're sure what the modeling clay is.
But the uranium is funky, and everyone says that I'm not allowed to have it.
So, yeah. So I think part of it is that I think people don't spend enough time with the basics. And by the basics, I mean, you know, planetary. I don't mean like candle spells. I mean the kind of proper intermediary stuff.
You mean spend a lot of time with the basics, by which you mean most people's ideas of complex, advanced forms of magic.
Yeah. And then stay away from this stuff, which is the stuff that you'll be ready for eventually. And that's not some gatekeeping bullshit. That is literally me going, okay, can you explain to me what a primordial energy is? And I don't mean like the way that people say it's sympathetic magic, isn't it? Like, actually explain to me what the actual thing is. You know, and don't give me cop-out answers like time. Which
time
is
not an illusion. I know that because I read that in a self-help book.
I thought you were going to say fortune cookie then.
Fortune cookie? Oh no, fortune cookies don't have that great content, do they? Right. So if this is the case, Mr. Chris, if it's the case that they need to leave the super witchy stuff alone for now, why is it that I know that you set homework, a basic piece of homework, which was to basically pull in a titan into someone's house because they thought the mood might be a bit better? I think it was something like that, wasn't it? You were trying to make the mood a bit better in the house or something, so you thought, I know what this place needs. Contact and pull in this titan. Wasn't that a thing? That was a piece of homework you said, I believe, wasn't it? Not very long
Probably.
ago.
I can't remember that one.
Oh, yes, I do believe it was for Nyanka, wasn't it?
Oh. She can handle it. She can handle it.
So the only people that are allowed to work with the Titans are the people that you approve of. Is that correct?
Basically, yes.
Okay, right. So you're like the spirits of the crossroads for where Titans are concerned. Yeah?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
I allow access. No one else.
Oh. Honestly, I think we're running out of places to store your ego, Chris.
There is no end to it.
Even the abyss could not contain it. It's trying to leak out.
It tried for 1,000 years. It couldn't hold on to me.
Right, okay. So I think that what most people think is whenever there's an obstacle, whatever it is, they think I need to overpower this obstacle. So they go up and up and up the hierarchy or perceived hierarchy of spirits, gods, goddesses, energies, that sort of thing. And they arrive at some point with the gods, the greater gods, who are superly powerful, and they get a no when they go to something. Mummy, can I have some more ice cream, please? No. So then what they think is damn, the authoritarian will not let me have more ice cream, and they have all the power. I know I'm going to go to Grandma, and Grandma likes me, so Grandma will give me all the ice cream I want. And no. And that's what they think. They think that as above, so below, because the Grandma is not stern and spoils you and that she'll give you all the ice cream and not tell Mummy and Daddy, that Mummy and Daddy really run the show. But Grandma, I mean, she's on a level on her own, isn't she? She's Mummy and Daddy's mummy. Or you would hope that she was one-off Mummy or Daddy's mummy, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. It might explain why little Timmy has webbed toes. Who knows? Maybe Mummy and Daddy have the same mummy. I don't know. Wow. But anyway, we're going off on a tangent. And sometimes Granny and Granddad are very stern and very strict, but sometimes my Grandma and Granddad are also like they spoil you rotten. And a lot of the time, you'll notice that the parents always say Granny and Granddad, well, yeah, he was really stern when I was young. He used to eat all of my cousins, brothers and sisters and all that. And he was really, really strict. But now, obviously, Granddad, people don't have that impression of Granddad. Granddad's a bit of a soft, a bit crazy, okay, a bit kind of doolally, but at the same time, Granddad spoils us with all the Cadbury chocolate, you see. So, Mummy and Daddy, they might be strict on Mummy and Daddy, but not the great-grandkids, surely, Chris. Or maybe it is a grandma or granddad that is really strict on the great-granddad. Maybe it is a grandma and granddad that say, well, you're not my kids, you're my grandkids. I ain't loyal to you, I'm loyal to my kids. It might be some weird kind of thing that's going on. But how will these people be received by grandma and granddad? Which obviously is we're infilling that as a substitute for Titan level things, yeah. But in reality, it is very, very complicated, but we're trying to oversimplify it. And we've only got 5 more minutes of the regular edition of the podcast. So what mischief can we make and secrets can we reveal in 5 minutes, Chris? Primordial stuff. Because in the Patreon, we'll have to talk about the pre-primordial. So the primordial as in before consummation, before the deed, the creation of the universe. Because at the moment we're only dealing with Titan level, which is construction of universe, necessary for construction of universe.
And maintenance, I guess.
And maintenance, which, let's be fair, Granny and Granddad, they're too old for maintenance. Normally, it's like Uncle John needs to do it, because they're in their like 40s and 50s. You know, the greater gods, they generally do most of the work, or they generally employ people to do most of the work.
Or have more children.
Or just have more children and keep spitting out more ones.
Okay. And the last part, I guess, before we go to there is perspective, I guess.
Yes, our perspective is vastly different from a lot of people's. I do notice this.
So you said something earlier today in something else you'd recorded, talking about essentially alliances.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you said something about how some energies and entities will have a natural like or dislike to you.
Oh, yes, I did. That was in the not a book review I did for the Arab Patel Grimoire.
Yeah. So you were talking about that, and I think it's one part when it comes to working with these energies, because let's face it, that's what they really want to know, is how can they get around working with these entities?
Oh, yeah, they want to know how to get Grandma and Granddad to give them the ice cream that no one else will give them.
But if you remember, you know, your Nan and Granddad, obviously it would be a case of there would be one or the other, or both if you were like me, who loved you more than the others' children's.
Oh, controversial.
So you'd have that, you know, but that also depending on what your level of relationship that was already there with those existing energies. So you either, you know, you'd got the grandma that just loved you because you were a grandchild, regardless of which one you were, you know, abundantly loving, regardless, but never really knew enough much about you other than her observation. Whereas it might be Granddad that you spent all the time fishing with, or actually doing things with, but never actually talked. And then it might be Grandma that you talk to about your feelings, and the one that would tell you, no, you're perfect. Don't get, you know, you don't need to change. Everything else needs to change around the world, you know. So this kind of level of interaction that you will have with these entities will be based on what your pre-existing relationships are with these entities, and plays a big part on what is allowed and not allowed when it comes to you going, I need more power for this, or I need to know more about that. Will depend on how.
Yes, but Grandma, as I remember, when she taught cooking and that, she was very clear and said, don't touch the stove, it's hot. So there is a certain amount of care with not letting people work with things that they're incapable of working with, because we laugh and a joke and a talk about obviously messing with the universes and stuff like that, that no one really cares. But on the Titan level, there is caring on the Titan level. They do care. They just care about stuff a lot less, because for them to notice something really big has to happen, you know? So I think they're willing to let you get away with them more, but at the same time, it's getting there. It's getting to deal with them on that level, because you have to be adept enough to understand how to do that. And if you are, then you're going to have knowledge and appreciation for what you can do and what you can't do anyway, which does stand to kind of reason as to what is this whole thing about with the ice cream? Why doesn't Daddy let me have the ice cream? And why will Nanny let me have the ice cream? Or Granddad let me have the ice cream? Is it because ice cream is not good for me? Is it because they don't care? Or is it because Daddy needs to fucking lighten up? Interesting. But there we go. I think that is it for the regular edition of the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. I hope we've given you food for thought, and I do hope that food is ice cream. If you want to listen to the extended edition, where we go into a lot more interesting topics and further discuss this topic, then you need to get yourself on the Thoth Witchcraft Patreon.